Am I the a-hole for not lying about my sister's whereabouts? My sister Jessie is married to a man named Kevin. I have no idea what's going on in their marriage, but Jessie once used me to lie to her husband that she was over at my place when she wasn't. I hated lying to him, and I told Jessie to never put me in that position ever again. A while ago, Kevin called me late at night, asking if Jessie was over at my place because she claimed we were having a girls' night out. I didn't know what to say, and when he heard Seinfeld playing in the background, he got suspicious. I got so fed up that I bluntly told him Jessie wasn't with me, and I hadn't seen her all day. Jessie and Kevin are getting divorced now, but my sister refuses to tell anybody why. She blames me and still isn't talking to me. Jessie claims she has a good reason for what she did, and I ruined her marriage. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My cousin Rachel just told me my sister Jessie is an escort and gave Kevin an STD. Today is Thanksgiving in Canada, and dinner is going to be very awkward. Now for the top comments. You're clearly not the a-hole. Sounds like Kevin already has his suspicions if he was calling you, and the Seinfeld theme song was all it took to tip him off. This situation is Jessie's fault and no one else's. Edit. Oh my god, Opie, you read it. That is almost beyond belief. That's going to be the most intense Thanksgiving dinner of all time. Buckle up. All it took was Seinfeld theme song for the House of Cards to come crashing. And STDs. Not the a-hole. Jessie is an a-hole for using you as a cover to lie to her husband. Jessie is an a-hole for not informing you she was using you as a cover. You clearly told Jessie not to use you as a cover. Exactly. She didn't just cheat and lie, and make her sister lie and use her sister as an excuse without telling her, and get angry at her sister when her husband found out her lies. But she put the health of her husband in jeopardy by not using protection. This is a trash human. Just throw them out. She blames me and still isn't talking to me. Well, gee, all you did was tell the truth, that you hadn't seen her. You already told her you didn't want to lie to cover her affair. I think we can probably infer that's what was happening here. And she didn't even pay attention to that. Just used you as a cover without even telling you? She can go pound sand. Not stay home. She wasn't just cheating. She was moonlighting as an escort and gave Kevin an STD. If I were Opie, I would be thrilled she isn't talking to me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my mother-in-law to be involved in my pregnancy after the stuff she said to me? Background. I lost my husband to a drunk driver 3 months ago. Ironically, we were on our way to visit his parents to tell them about my pregnancy when the accident happened. I somehow got away with just a permanent scar on my forehead while he died in a hospital 8 hours later. We were able to talk to him some hours before he passed away, and it was not pleasant. My sister-in-law, my late husband's 2 best friends, and his cousin have been really helpful through these times. Sister-in-law has come to stay with me indefinitely, and her husband has been understanding. His best friends both keep dropping by to check on me, and so does his cousin. I never got to announce my pregnancy to anyone. I just couldn't get myself to. The only people to know are the 4 above-mentioned people, and they decided it would be best if I announce it myself when I'm ready. The thing is, my mother-in-law has not been her pleasant self around me. She hates me for being the one that survived instead of her son, and I feel it too. She started accusing me of having an affair with his best friend because he came over too much. Then she accused me of hooking up with his cousin. She even accused me of sleeping with his sister, since she's been at my house so much. We're both straight women who lost someone close to us, but we decided to ban her from visiting me. Some days ago, I finally felt strong enough to announce pregnancy. I individually called up all the close family. Mother-in-law got really excited and all about the baby and asked me when she could come over to help me through my first pregnancy. I lost it and told her she didn't need to be involved with me at all and hung up. This has stirred up many problems in the family, and my resolve might be weakening. I don't want her and her snarky remarks around me during my pregnancy, and I have kept it as brief and to the point as possible. Not the a-hole. I am so very sorry for your loss. She needs to see a grief counselor than apologize to you. Not the a-hole. First, I am so sorry about losing your beloved husband. Second, mother-in-law accused you of cheating on your husband, of sleeping around, and resents you for surviving the crash. You have no need to have mother-in-law in your life at all. Keep your doors/windows locked all the time so she can never barge in. Get a Ring doorbell, and do not answer the door until you have checked the app to see who is there. Ask sister-in-law to rein in her mom, and to tell her that at some point you may be willing to talk to her, But it is going to take a lot of time for you to forgive mother-in-law for lashing out at you while you are grieving losing your husband. Yes, she lost a son. That doesn't excuse her behavior/actions/words. A sincere apology from mother-in-law is necessary, and then you still get to take as much time as you need before allowing mother-in-law back into your life. I want to address a concern I had when you said mother-in-law was suddenly excited at wanting to be involved. Grandparents' rights are a thing. Not all states enforce them the same, but the basics are that if a grandparent has established a relationship with a grandchild, then they can petition the courts for ordered visitation. That would tie you to your in-laws for the next 18 years, without your husband being able to rein in as parents. I don't know what kind of a relationship you had with your in-laws prior to the accident. Just be aware that any kind of patterned visitation you allow could be used against you. So letting in-laws visit every weekend? No. Letting in-laws have alone time with the little one? No. Bring little one over for dinner every Sunday? No. No pattern. All visitation needs to be very random and very spaced out. 2 hours on a Sunday, 3 weeks later a lunch on Wednesday, and then 1.5 months after a meetup at a restaurant. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend I don't want to spend time with his family after they try to make me prove I was good enough for him? I went to meet my boyfriend's family for the first time, and it was a weird vibe. First, his brother, who is in a similar field of work, started quizzing me on my work like it was a job interview. I ended up joking that I don't talk shop unless I'm getting paid for it after that went on for a while. He asked me kinda rudely if I just got into that field to meet a wealthy man. My boyfriend and his family are wealthy, so I said that I was in it to out-earn the wealthy man. Another joke, or half-joke at least. I like my financial independence. Next, his cousins asked me if I was a workaholic, like some ex of some guy in the family who was never home and never did her household chores. I said, nah, I'm out of work at 5 odd a dot. I care a lot about a good work-life balance. Then they were saying I was such a millennial, which I don't know what they meant by that. There was more, but overall it felt like a job interview, or an interrogation rather than a social event. It felt like I was being asked questions and set up to be judged. I left early after a conversation with his mom who was asking me about my homemaking skills, and not really liking my answer that my boyfriend is the better cook. And before I met him, I was eating too much takeout, but he's teaching me to cook. His mom made a comment about how in her day, women brought something special to the table. I kinda tried to play it off as a joke, saying that I'd bring him beer, but it really didn't land. Anyway, I headed out early and he stayed that night, but as soon as he left too, he wanted to talk about why I had dipped super early. I said it felt like I was being interviewed for a job of being good wifey, instead of just meeting people socially. And I feel like that's not something I enjoy. I like hanging out with people who are chill and accepting. He said it felt like they were just being protective and trying to make sure he was ending up with a good partner, and they meant well. And they are like that whenever a new partner gets introduced, but they warm up to people quick. That every woman in the family had been questioned a bit and bond over it later on. I said I already know I'm a catch, and honestly, they were disrespecting us both. Me by making judgy comments, and him by not trusting him to pick a good partner himself. I said that I didn't feel like going for Thanksgiving or Christmas anymore, unless some people apologized and agreed to not do this weird hazing stuff again. He said that he felt I was being unreasonable, that I should give them another chance at Thanksgiving. I feel like he's being insensitive and pushing me to go somewhere I'm not respected, again. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend I don't want to go to his family's holidays after they met me, and it felt like they questioned my worth for hours? Not the a-hole. However, while I would consider giving the family a second chance if you are serious about the partner as being able to socialize with them would make life a lot easier, do not go at Thanksgiving or Christmas. That is a terrible idea. His family will probably be more entrenched in their ways and feeling possessive. You might I would, resent wasting a holiday with them if it goes badly. Leaving early would also end up being a big deal. Have a way less weighted second chance if you want to? I would not, because they sound generally sexist, as well as specifically mean. I wouldn't want to deal with that forever, but it is up to you. Not the a-hole. However, his family and he are complete a-holes. His reaction is a look into your future if you tolerate that BS from them, and from him. A lot of them clearly feel superior to not only you, but anyone who wasn't born to their tax bracket. It's not wise to ignore such blatant harbingers of relationship inequity and ingrained disrespect. You can do much better. Not at all. And how horrible you had to fend off all their questions/hazing on your own. I hope your partner at least had your back on some of it. Also, you've now clearly stated you are uncomfortable with this kind of behavior, so your partner should be addressing his family that this hazing is no longer acceptable. The women bond over their hazing period? Brr, makes me cringe. I wouldn't go either. We ended up talking to different people all night, so he wasn't really aware until I was like, alright, I'm heading out, and he was surprised. Yeah, like this is some sorority girl crap. They should be more mature than that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for hiring security for my wedding? I'm 25 female and getting married to my fiance, 26 male, next spring, if all goes well. My father's girlfriend and her 2 children, whom I have known since I was 9 years old, are not invited. I don't want to go into it all here, but I will say that my stepmother did things that I as an adult now consider to be abusive, including stealing my belongings, trying to get me diagnosed with disorders I didn't have, and going into rages with almost no provocation. When I was 16, I left my dad's house and cut off all contact with them for years. When my fiancé proposed, it struck me that I would have nobody to walk me down the aisle, so I reconnected with my father and began repairing my relationship with him. Unfortunately, his girlfriend and her kids were still in the picture, so I was polite to them and tried to only go see my dad when I knew they weren't around. A month or so ago, my stepmother walked in on me and my father while we were going over wedding plans, and she cheerfully mentioned that she hadn't gotten an invite yet, but she would like to RSVP, so we could set aside a vegetarian meal for her, which made things awkward because I hadn't sent her an invitation because I didn't want her to come, nor her kids. None of them had apologized for or even acknowledged my childhood, except my dad. I tried to give her the chance to, but she got very sulky with me and stormed off. I'm assuming so she could whine about me to her Facebook groups, seeing as that's what she always did when I pissed her off as a kid. A couple weeks ago, she sent me a message that just said, "Can't wait to see you on your big day." I didn't reply. I just called a friend from school who had started his own security company and offered him his first ever contract, my wedding. He graciously agreed. He thanked me for the contract on Facebook. He tagged me, and since he tagged me, my family saw it and now they're telling me I'm going overboard. And weddings are supposed to be happy occasions, and the presence of security would bring down the mood. Not only this, but now my dad's side thinks I'm psycho, paranoid, etc. because you don't need a whole security team to keep out one fat lady and her 2 kids. But on the other hand, it's my wedding, right? Thoughts? Added for clarification, while talking about the veggie meal thing, I did eventually come out and say that there wouldn't be a plate for her because she and her kids weren't invited. I didn't want them there because they never apologized for what happened in my childhood. She got sulky and left. Not today, home. Regardless of your personal situation, it's always a good idea to have security to an event where a bunch of adults are going to get drunk. Taking into account your situation, it's even more of a necessity. I agree with this. We had security at our wedding, but that was due to the venue requiring it. We have to give a complete guest list, so they could check off who was attending. I know not all venues have this requirement, but I have been to a couple of weddings where I had to show ID to enter. Offer your photographer a bonus if they manage to get video of security tasing her and dragging her away. Not today, home. Okay, this made me burst out laughing when I was stressing out and about to have an anxiety attack. Thank you, and I may actually do this. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for ruining the family vacation by refusing to go to dinner after my husband laughed at his cousin's joke and telling him to take his mistress instead? I found out after we were already married that it's very common for the older generation of men in my husband's family to keep mistresses, as long as they're discreet about it and don't have any outside babies. We went on vacation with my husband's family, including his sister, cousins, and their spouses. My sister-in-law needed to get some new clothes because she was supposed to leave earlier than the rest of us, but decided to stay. While we were shopping, the shop assistant was flirting with my husband. His cousin James made jokes about adding her to my husband's collection of girls in every country, and how he always said a leopard never changes his spots, and that a new marriage couldn't stop my husband. My husband and his other male cousins thought it was the funniest thing ever. I didn't find it so funny, and neither did his sister, who told James to shut up. In the evening, we were supposed to go for dinner, and my husband noticed I wasn't getting ready, so he asked me to hurry up. I told him I didn't want to go. We had an argument where he was saying James was just joking. I told him I didn't find it funny, that he could take his mistress to dinner instead. He kept insisting he didn't have a mistress, and that James was just making a dumb joke and he was sorry for laughing, but I refused to budge. In the end, none of the other girls went to dinner with them. We all ended up going somewhere together and wouldn't let them come with us. For the rest of the vacation, my sister-in-law insisted we would treat it like a girls' trip, and the boys could do whatever they wanted without us. My husband was pissed at me for overreacting to a joke and ruining the family vacation, especially since James apologized too, but things didn't go back to normal. Was I the a-hole? Joking about a mistress is a deeply disrespectful thing to do. It sounds like you weren't the only woman fed up with this kind of banter. It is a shame the holiday wasn't what any of you planned it to be, but you are not the a-hole for being upset. I will say this, now that you are home, perhaps it is time to move past it. Make it abundantly clear that these kinds of jokes are not tolerated, but let it go. If it happens again, then it might be time to worry about the people in your life and reevaluate things. But until then, enjoy life. Good luck. This. Dump the husbands, sister-in-laws included, if they won't change. Keep the rest of the family. They sound cool. Not stay home. And good on you women supporting each other. Adultery isn't a joke, and if your husband thinks it is, he has to think again. When you found out about the tradition, did you discuss it with your husband? What did you agree? How about the girls make a joke about the wife having a sideman, and see if he thinks that is so hilarious. Let's see if he feels embarrassed in front of his family. He shouldn't, right? It's just a dumb joke. Not stay home. But culturally, I'll bet if you took a discreet lover or you ladies joked over having one join you on your ladies' time out, that he wouldn't be laughing either.